guys, welcome back. Mike here with Things You Might Like, and it has been far too long, but this is a topic I just could not let slide considering my channel is very Reshade centric, and that is the fact that Reshade is no longer an option to use in-game. Hackers found a way to ruin it for all of us, so we have to look for other options. But luckily, nVidia has come out with an alternative just in time. So today what I'm going to talk about is nVidia Freestyle. I'm going to talk about what it is, how to install it, my filters that I like to use to get the look that I like, the drawbacks to it, and I'm going to give you some final thoughts. So if you like this video, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. Here at Things You Might Like, my goal is to get this game to work for you as best as possible. And today we're going to be talking about how to make it brighter, look better, and feel sharper, because the game is very drab, it is very soft. If you don't think so, you are entitled to your own opinion, even if it's the wrong one, because this game really doesn't look that great, and you'll feel that way after you use some settings, you tweak some things, and then if you ever go back to the game, that's when it really rears its ugly head with how bad this game looks. So what is it? nVidia Freestyle is a new addition to NVIDIA's GeForce Experience overlay that you can access at any time on your desktop. It overlays with whatever program you're doing, and you can add filters, do recordings, you can broadcast, do a whole bunch of stuff. So if you're looking for this latest NVIDIA game filter, all you have to do to install it is make sure that you have the latest version of NVIDIA's GeForce Experience. To bring it up, you can click the context menu, or you can go directly to the filters by hitting Alt and F3, and that will take you to this menu that has the filters. Now, before we dive down this rabbit hole, let me show you the before and after of what I'm working with and add a caveat to it. So this is before, and this is my after that I'm working with. Now let me explain one thing and make it very clear. This is entirely a subjective experience. It's going to differ from person to person. On my monitor, what I'm seeing is not what you guys are inevitably seeing between my recording, the YouTube compression, what you're seeing on your monitor. So this is meant to be a guide so that you have the tools. I can show you what to work with so that in the end, you can get this to work well for your screen. So I just want to make that note right up front so that we're all very clear on this. So now that that's out of the way, let me show you what we're working with. At the top, you have these styles. These are essentially your presets. Once you create them, you can switch between 3 different looks or off completely. Now, something to note off the bat, this will impact your system. I'll get more into that later, but I just wanted to make that note because some of you are going to see that my FPS drops when I click over to my new setting, and you're going to bark down in the comments. So I just want to make that note now. We have the filters right here. As soon as you add a filter by clicking on it, hit add, it's added down here and it is removed from right here, which is kind of nice that it moves around nice and easy like that. To remove a filter, just click the little trash can right here. All right, so we are working with contrast, exposure, color, and details, because my goal is to brighten up the exceptionally dark areas of the map without blowing out the sky, sharpen the map, and give it a slight pop of color where it makes sense. So first, let's start with contrast. We're going to use the gamma. I have it set to a 72.5. Set this to wherever you like. 72.5 to 80 is where I like it on my screen because it makes it nice and bright. And one thing I like to do is flatten the image with the contrast. I don't do it much here. I do it in another tool. But the flatter the image you have, these dark areas back here get brightened up because the lightness of the overall image gets flattened out. So we're going to take this contrast. If you see, if I go like this, it really flattens it out way too much. I keep mine at about a 45. All right, so we're done with contrast. Let's take a look at exposure. Exposure I have to a 52.5. Don't play with this one too much because it'll really blow out your image and you don't want that. I just have a tiny little hint of exposure, but the highlights and the shadows are where you really want. I have it all the way 0 because it takes out some of that blown out look, gives some detail to the sky, and the shadows all the way up to 100 because it removes some of the shadows, which makes it easier to see detail under trees and in the shadows. You can see if I bring it all the way down, how much those dark areas go down. Default is 50. I keep it at 100 to brighten up these background areas and again, flattening the image. Now we're going to go to color. Vibrance I have set to 77.5. Again, this is totally subjective. Set it to where you like it. It's just a little bit too drab for me at 50, so I have 77.5. And color enhancer at 15. That's just the look that I like. And last one, details. This is what's going to give the biggest impact on your system. It's going to take the biggest FPS hit because you're dealing with clarity and sharpening and actual graphic settings. So I have the sharpening and clarity all the way up to 100 on both, the HDR toning to 20, and the bloom to 15. I just really like what this does with it. HDR toning is really neat. I recommend you play around with it. Go too high and it gets really nasty, but it brightens up that background just a little bit. And the bloom, same thing. It brightens up and flattens that image just a tiny bit. If you do too much though, again, it gets blown out, so you don't want that. And that is pretty much it for my settings. The very first time I used these settings right here, I won a game. I won my very first game, and I promise you it's because I was able to see a lot better. In fact, of my first 3 games with these settings, I won 2 of them. Though one of them was with the squads, I only got, I think, 3 kills. So I'm not really counting that one, but my very first game with these settings, I won a game. So I can't speak highly enough about how well this works for me and how important it is for Bluehole to figure out a way to implement proper control for these kinds of settings. Give us better color control, better brightness control, and better clarity control. If you give us those, we won't have to go to these third-party programs, and it'd be nice to have that built in to what we're already playing. Now, the drawbacks of this. I hit some serious issues in a few different situations. Looking around, I would get stutters. Zooming in down the scope, I would get stutters. And just overall, my FPS impact for what I was getting was a lot worse than what was happening with Reshade, which I find pretty surprising. One thing I like about GeForce Experience is its integrated tools tend to have less of an impact on your system, but this is very new, and I'm excited for the future of this because as it goes through more development, it'll be much more streamlined and won't hit so bad. But in the meantime, there are some performance issues which did affect my gameplay. I'm working on getting used to it, but we'll see if it's a make or break for me. It definitely will be for some people, and I respect that, but for me right now, I'm doing okay with it. Secondly, something that they need to add to this context menu is they need to add a hotkey for the different styles. If there is one, please let me know in the comments below. I couldn't find one, and for the meantime, it'd be nice to be able to switch it on and off without having to go into the menu and manually clicking with the mouse. So we talked about how to get it on your system, how to get a good look out of it, and the drawbacks to using this system. So what are my final thoughts on this? Well, like I've said before, this is a subjective experience, but it does enhance the game to the point where I think they have to build something into the game. They have a lot of other stuff to worry about right now, and I understand that. And I'm grateful that nVidia has picked up the slack and is able to work with their system since Reshade has fallen off the bandwagon, which again is really unfortunate, but I am gonna be working with this. I am gonna be fine-tuning this guy so that it works well with my system. And as a side note, does it work with Miramar? Absolutely it does. It looks great. I had a problem with Reshade getting it bright enough without blowing out the sky, but this, I've done it, and I really enjoy these settings on those maps. So if they can just streamline it, make it not impact your system as much, get out the bugs, and make it a little bit more user-friendly to switch between the filters, and we can call it a day. So now I want to hear what you guys think. Do you think this is a good idea? Do you think this is a bad idea? Have you used it? Have you experienced problems on your system? I want to hear from you. I want to hear about your experiences with it. So let me know about those in the comments below. And again, if this video helps you out, consider liking and subscribing to the channel. I do a lot of live streams now. I enjoy being a part of the community, and I have more stuff coming out in the future, including a giveaway, so stay tuned for that. Thanks for stopping by, everyone. My name is Mike. This is Things You Might Like, and I will see you all with my next cool thing.